Different feeling with, I think you said that you're the only team in the country that's played a game and now has a bye week. How different does this feel for you as you approach?
It's different. We've never had this happen before, but what we've always tried to do is use it as a positive. I remember a couple years ago I said, well, we've got our bye week, the last week of the season, other than, we got one game after the bye week. And I thought, well, that's just terrible. But we got to that week and we were playing for a championship versus Penn State, and gave us an extra opportunity to prepare.
The easy narrative outside of the room and outside of the program is, oh, they didn't do enough. We've heard that story before with your program and whatnot, but they challenged you guys in ways. What's the one thing that you take away from that game moving forward that you really can grasp onto?
People need to deal in reality. Your players, my players, our players. Everybody has a plan. There's no easy games out there. Very, very few. And you need to reflect on that as you go forward and understand that, hey, we're always playing people tight. I mean, that's been the nature of what's gone on around here. The penalties and the turnovers made it like that. I thought we played well, but you put yourself behind the 8 ball a little bit when you have those issues. So you have to get rid of those. Everything that we had a problem with is very fixable. We had guys play for the first time, which is a positive. Great crowd, packed house. So all those things are very big positives as you move forward, and you get ready for the next one. But at the end of it all, you sit there and watch the next day of all the people that have the same issues, who maybe weren't as fortunate, and you sort of sit back and say, you don't feel too bad. So we won going away, so that's what's important. We closed the game.
Yeah, 4 of the top 10 preseason teams fell in week 1, which is the most I think that we've seen, in 7 of the top 20.
Yeah,
even took a fall. So this week, what's the #1 focus?
The #1 focus is make sure we don't lose our game conditioning. We worked so hard to get to game time condition that now we have a second week off and we don't play a game. We want to make sure that we work just as hard as we would normally work in a game, and I think we can accomplish that by our practices and everything. And then we also can get a head start a little bit on what we're planning for next week. But things change. You don't really know who you're going to see this weekend when you watch Notre Dame, so things tend to change. You have to deal in reality a little bit, but that's probably the biggest focus, and then eliminating some of the issues that we had.
Shoring up some of those penalties, I'm sure. That's very uncharacteristic for a team that you coach. Was that one of more of the frustrating things for you as you look back at that game?
The game gets called close. To me, penalties are in two areas. Are they forced penalties or are they unforced? Unforced penalties would be jumping off sides, lining up wrong. We didn't have those, not one. Forced penalties, pass interferences, a late hit down the field, which is in question, I think, but they get called. You got to play through it. You got to play through the smoke. So there's a positive in having to do that as well. So everything you experience in a football game, you're experiencing for the first time this season, needs to be reflected on and say, okay, hey, we had a problem here. That's a positive, because now we can get past that. Or, we struggled here. That's a positive. We can move to the next. We can move to second base. And so that's how we have to approach everything that we do.
Would it be fair to say you like to see your team face adversity quicker in a season than maybe going out and blowing the doors off somebody in a non-competitive game? Does that while like I said, the narrative can be easy to say, oh, they didn't play as well, they're not going to be, but at the same time, you're talking about, hey, we witnessed it, we got through it, we battled, we were successful.
Yeah, without disrespecting Furman, because they had a good plan. They didn't run option until the fourth quarter and things of that nature. Yeah, you wish at the end of the first half it was 35-zip and you were playing your twos the rest of the day. But I think at the end of the day, you put pressure on people, especially at the quarterback position. Put pressure on people when the game's a little bit closer to make plays. Pressure on our new wide receiver group to make plays, and they did that. So that's got to be viewed as a positive.
When you watch football on a Saturday that you aren't playing a game like you did last week and you could this weekend, seeing as you have the bye week, do you watch football like a fan or do you watch football like a coach?
That's a good question.
Do you sit down with some popcorn and a pop and watch the game, or are you always drawing things up on the board?
No, I tend to look at it because I know I'm going to see it again. I tend to look at it a little bit more, probably 50-50, a little bit as a fan, but probably a little bit as a coach too, in terms of what formations they're getting in. And then when you see the replay or you recognize the play, you know, you have basic ideas what they're doing. So you look at it as a coach, but I also think, you know, you're sitting there, if you miss a play, it's not a big deal. Yeah. You know, if I go get some popcorn, it's not a big deal.
And you said this weekend you'll be joining Tom for his Hall of Fame induction. Yeah. I think that's a really unique event. How has that relationship developed, and do you look up to him even though you guys are peers and friends?
First question is, we've been friends since I was here before. You know, he was an assistant when I first came here, then became the head coach. So he's always been very supportive of me, even when I was an assistant. So I got to know him in that respect. Then I got to know him much better when I became a head football coach, and he's been very supportive throughout these last 10 years. And, you know, and his family, they live, you know, 5 houses down. So, you know, it's not something that, hey, we got to see each other every day or anything like that, but it's sort of, whenever you get with them, it's sort of like that absence of time really doesn't matter. You just sort of connect. So it's been really good in that respect. And then the second question was
just this weekend, going to see him go into the Hall of Fame. You know, do you guys push each other, I guess is the question. Do you want to strive to be one day inducted into a type of scenario like Tom is?
Yeah, I think everybody hopes for those things. You know, it tells you that you've had great success at what you're doing with your life, relative whether it's you or somebody else. But I think what I remember most was telling our football team, or telling people, that we just had to look across one field to our basketball arena to understand how championships were made, and that was how we strived to do that. Because that was, when I watched their basketball practices, it was communication, attention to detail, confidence, competitiveness, not from the coaches, but from the players. And that's what I gathered, and that's what I was always pushing our players to do, to be able to simulate those type of things. And I think we've been able to do that. And I think that's one of the reasons that, you know, we've won 3 Big championships and 3 Big Ten championships, and, you know, 2 of them outright in the last 3 years. I think that's because we've had a good model to look at.